Alright, so today I finally want to talk about the testing grounds for a bit. Yubi really laid it on us this weekend with this phase of testing grounds, as there was just so many changes. Tons of damage values were changed, stamina penalties were removed, recoveries were played with, how attacks are even seen have been adjusted as well. So I didn't want to rush this video out. I really wanted to play the game for a while to feel things out. And even doing that, I just can't talk about everything as there's so much. Of course, these are just my thoughts and sort of first impressions, and I think most people are going to feel differently in one way or another. So I really want to hear from you guys about this, whether it be in the comments or in my Discord. But most importantly, give your feedback straight to Yubi. After a few days and play sessions of the testing grounds, fill out the survey and let them know what you think, because what you say does matter. Now, if you watch these videos somewhat regularly, I would really appreciate it if you sub to the channel, as it really helps me out. And now we are only 2,500 subs away from playing Shinobi exclusively for 10 reps straight. And every time I say that, I feel a part of me fading away. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, so let's start off with the reception. Now, from what I'm seeing, the reception has been mixed. This is just my point of view, of course. And I say that because there are just so many different thoughts flying around out there, especially with how much has changed. Of course, there are the black and white answers, I love these changes or I hate these changes, but this time around, there is so much in the middle. There are people who just like the damage changes, or just like the stamina changes, or just like how zone feels, or just like the attack changes. And then there are some people who like some and hate some, so on and so on. It's really something else, but it's to be expected when you make changes like this, large changes that affect how the game will be played. I will say that the past few days, I have seen the reception lean more towards the positive side, but again, that's just from my point of view. I will also say that this is one of the best uses of the testing grounds we've seen yet, that's for sure, and I'm sure that Yubi is absolutely swimming in feedback at the moment. I cannot tell you how many people have told me or commented or whatever about how they're going to uninstall the game if these changes go through, that they're totally done with the game if all this stuff goes live. It's been a while since I've seen so many people say that. I think, as with anything that changes with this game, it'll certainly take some time to get used to, and as we play, our thoughts and opinions will begin to shift. I know mine have, and I mean, there are a lot of changes here, and we've been so used to everything sort of being the same for so long, as when things change, it's usually on a case-to-case basis. And the last major system change that changed the way we play that I can think of is, of course, the parry changes long ago. So it may take a bit longer to really get a grasp on things. If you do feel as though these changes will turn you away from the game, that's fine. Some people like how the game is played right now. Everyone has different ideas on what they want this game to be and have different preferences and whatnot. All I ask is that whatever happens, you give it an honest shot. Now, I honestly don't really know how this will go. I don't know how much of this phase will make it into the live game. In other phases, it was pretty easy to tell what would go through and what wouldn't, like the Gladiator changes and the Warlord changes, or of course the Breach changes, and what still needed work like the Centurion rework. I'm really waiting to see what Yubi can tell us about this phase when it's over. I know I want to play more testing grounds, but at this point it's getting somewhat tough to find a game on PC. I had to requeue 3 times earlier because I hit the 15-minute mark just to get into a game and can only really play during peak times right now. So on to the game. I can tell you one thing that you all probably already know. People are getting hit a lot more than before. Throwing a light attack out on PC doesn't get parried nearly as much as before, and if you do get parried, the punishment isn't as harsh. You're not losing stamina, and you're getting hit with less damage for the most part. It's actually refreshing. The faster pace is nice. No one is afraid to attack because they know that they're not going to lose a third of their health bar and go out of stamina if they had the nerve to want to inflict damage upon their opponent. I wish I could say that I'm seeing a ton of characters being used, but everyone I'm playing against is using this opportunity to have fun with Assassins and Nobushi, which is understandable. I'm having a blast with Peacekeeper. Damage values, however, are all over the place. It seems like they just threw darts at a dartboard to pick a few values here. There are a few values that had to have been oversights, especially things like Conqueror's top heavy opener. A strong gust of wind could roll through and do more damage to your hero than a Conk top heavy right now. Gladiator's Zone, in my opinion, is a little too strong at 27 damage for how useful it is. Lawbringer getting that much damage off of a light parry again is a step in the wrong direction. That had to be a mistake considering he just had a nerf not too long ago. And of course, Shaman players are having a great time right now in the testing grounds because Bleed is really powerful right now. I honestly thought that Bite would see a damage reduction as well, but it didn't, which was interesting considering how easy it is to pull off with anyone that knows how to set it up. And for some reason, Armush's Ring the Bell does absolutely no damage right now, which is weird. I really like that move. It's one of my favorites in the game. Some heroes do have really good numbers. Some heroes could still use work. Overall, I like the damage changes. I like the intentions. I figured that they'd either raise health or nerf damage one day, but I always thought they'd buff health because I assumed it would be less work for them. But at the end of the day, I know nothing about putting a game together. Also with this, I hope they take a look at feats. I'm sure it's been thought of, but in this current phase, feats are just better, with the attack damage being weaker and healing feats being more useful. The changes to how attacks are shown are alright. I play primarily on PC and could definitely feel a difference. People were actually getting hit by light attacks, and I haven't seen that in quite some time. Sure, you catch someone off guard every now and then in live, but against longtime players, lights just didn't work. In testing grounds, they do. Sure, they may not technically be all that much faster from neutral when you look at how the changes affected attacks, but it's still noticeable, and chain attacks are being used and are landing against everyone much more often. I can still block neutral lights just fine if I'm dialed in, but if I start wandering off, I'll get hit by lights like nothing, and I don't get as many deflects or superior blocks as before, but that's alright. That's sort of the point of these changes. And I haven't seen people throwing out this many attacks since like Season 2. And I mean, that's a good thing. Again, if you have experienced the really slow play that can happen on PC, you know why a lot of people may like these changes. It's really boring when you're having a duel on a point against, say, a beefy Lawbringer whose only goal is to stall the point or fish for parries. You're going to be there for a while, and it's honestly really boring and frustrating. I mean, sure, the fights in testing grounds will technically last longer if both players are really good at defense, but odds are attacks are landing more often. Anyways, in that situation, if neither player's teammates show up, they'll be there for a while throwing nothing but their safest attacks. These changes do allow us to use more of our attacks, specifically lights. A few weeks ago, I was playing Black Prior in some background footage, and I got a lot of comments about how many times I was using my Bash and Bulwark against this specific team. And that's because I knew those players well, and they were fantastic players who compete fairly regularly. So anything other than my safest attacks was somewhat pointless to throw out, as I'd just be wasting time and setting myself up to be ganked or opening myself up for punishment, as boring and, one note that gameplay may be. And that's just the way it's been for a while because defense is so strong. You see people doing the same things in given situations because they don't want to risk being punished, and these punishes are generally pretty painful. But with this phase of testing grounds, you see people doing things, and I'll admit, it's fun. Sure, you can throw out attacks, but it's not just mash R1 or right bumper or left click. They tried to explain it in the Warrior's Den, but I think people didn't really catch it, so I'll link a video by the Filthy Spaniard that does a great job at showing off how the changes to recoveries have affected that. I like the stamina changes for the most part. Sometimes it feels like I have near unlimited stamina. If I end my chain and my opponent doesn't do anything, or if I parry or deflect or something, I can just keep going. And if I do get parried, I know that I won't be out of stamina, and it feels nice. If I'm playing Orochi, I know that I can just run up to someone, call a timeout with Ki, and just go to town without ever running out of stamina, which can be annoying if you're on the opposing end of it. It actually feels pretty tough to go out of stamina unless you use your zone pretty often, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Yubi just up the stamina cost in general, just by a little bit though, because we don't have to worry about those penalties anymore. Now, since I said I'd do it, I did play on console. I tried it out on 2 separate occasions, and both times went as expected. I did not have a good time. And since I don't play Console for Honor ever nowadays, I can't really tell you how playing defense felt in comparison. All I can tell you is that I was getting hit by everything. I'm not going to sit here and rag on Console because at this point, we all know the problems that Console for Honor has. The one thing I liked about Console over PC was how aggressive players were and how many more attacks landed because of the game itself. But now that attacks are landing on PC and people are being more aggressive, it doesn't really have that for me any longer. I'm hoping that one day Console for Honor can feel just as good as PC for Honor, and I say this as someone who still enjoys buying and playing plenty of other games on console. For some, the game is going to feel spammy because it's been defensive for so long, and the point of these testing grounds are to try and change that and see how players react to these changes and see if people like how the game flows this way. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. As I said at the start, I do want to hear from you guys, but more importantly, go fill out the survey that UB put out. You can find the feedback thread sticky to the top of the For Honor subreddit, and if I don't forget, I'll put it in the description or pinned comment as well. I'm sure UB goes through the feedback and listens to what everyone has to say, and they want you to send it in, so please do so. One last thing I want to say before I go is that you are always entitled to your opinion. If you like something, say you like it. If you don't, say you don't. It doesn't matter if anyone agrees with you or not, or if someone tries to put you down or gatekeep you or make you feel isolated for speaking your mind. Just share your thoughts and try to explain why you feel the way you feel. Just try not to lump everyone into one category or another if you're addressing others, of course. Anyways, I'll end it there. Again, feel free to comment and also join our Discord if you're interested. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.